Good evening. Blind Justice was arrested again on Friday night. Must have been late in the night because he wasn't booked in until Saturday morning at 1:10 a.m. In this, he says that he was behind a church. He was behind this church right here, Madison United Methodist Church. But you can tell if you look at it, these three little, I don't know what you call them, overhangs, look suspiciously like this, which means that he was back here. This red brick building right here is the church, and he was back behind it. What possibly could be suspicious being parked behind something like this late at night on a Friday night, sitting in a car. I wonder what possibly the officer could have suspected. Maybe drug abuse, sitting back in a relatively dark, secluded location, not getting out of the car, just chilling. And then to top it off, when the stop is effectuated, and yes, you can stop someone in a vehicle in North Carolina based on reasonable suspicion, then the unusual behavior persists. And the unusual behavior consisted of them being freaked out by the relatively normal thing of an officer, saying, roll down your window. I'm scared. I'm scared. It's just not normal behavior. One might suspect drug abuse again. Now, I just want to be very clear. I'm not suspecting that Mr. Nelson or his lovely wife are in fact abusing drugs. I think that they're just sovereign citizens who like to be sovereign citizens, and congratulations to them. They're doing a bang up job of it. In fact, this guy right here, when asked by the sheriff's dispatch, I believe it was, said, no, they're just sovereign citizens. And he had backup rolling to him because you can't really trust sovereign citizens, because sovereign citizens have in the past pulled guns and killed officers, and they literally have done that. So, yeah. Anyway, so Mr. Nelson is telling his lovely wife, don't roll down the window, don't give him your ID, don't do this, don't do that. Call the sheriff. The sheriff obviously didn't have a lot of patience for their antics and was telling them to comply. Just standard nonsense. And it turned what would have been a relatively routine traffic stop that lasted a very short duration, that would have gone all the way from, what were you guys doing back there? Give me your license. He would have run the license, come back, and they would have said, we were playing Pokemon Go, and he would have said, okay, just don't do it behind the church. Have a good night. Or something along those lines. Now, what they did end up arresting Mr. Nelson for, quite unsurprisingly, was resisting officers, 14-223. Just in case you need to see it, resisting officers, 14-223. If any person shall willfully and unlawfully resist, delay, or obstruct a public officer in discharging or attempting to discharge a duty of his office, he shall be guilty of a Class 2 misdemeanor. And you're going to say, well, he didn't actually resist. He was just talking. This is State v. Lay. This is a North Carolina Supreme Court case from 1971. And yes, it is still being quoted. And in this, Lay was not the suspect of the initial investigation. It was somebody by the name of Blount. And the deputy sheriff testified, I was not able to talk to Blount because of Philip Lay. I couldn't get any information from Blount because of Lay. I asked Blount to get out of the car and come on go with me. And Lay said, you don't have to go with that Gestapo pig. There was a surrounding of people there, and I could not navigate properly, and I told Blount to come on and go with me. When he started toward my car, Lay kept saying, you don't have to go with that pig. Philip Lay went to my car and told him to roll the window down, and said that he did not have to go with that pig and to give him 5, and I pushed Raymond. Lay was right up close to me. I pushed him back and told him to move out of the way. He kept coming up to the car when I was trying to put the man in the car. I did not place him under arrest at that time. Blount got out of Lay's car and walked straight to my car. I opened the door. Blount did not get right in because of Lay interfering and telling him not to go. Lay followed me over to my car. He was right behind me. He didn't prevent me from opening my door. He just kept interfering by telling Blount not to go with that pig. After Peel got to the scene, he went to Philip Lay's car to talk to Raymond Blount. Philip Lay was talking in a loud voice. Peel started talking to Raymond Blount. Lay said, "Pig to Peel." Lay talked in a loud voice for 5, 7, or 8 minutes. The issue is that Lay, by telling Blount not to comply, by making it loud enough that the officers couldn't interact with the suspect, it obstructed their investigation. And the Supreme Court of North Carolina found that, in fact, it was appropriate to charge him for it was sufficient to charge an offense under the statute. So, long story short, it's great. It's great video fodder. I mean, I'm sure that he's going to make a bunch of money on it. I don't know exactly how much a Class 2 misdemeanor is going to cost Mr. Nelson, but I'm sure he'll play the pity party and say that he's blind. And I love it. While playing one of the few phone games that Mike and I can still enjoy together because of the audio cues. Right? Dude can see. Mike can see. He's probably legally blind, but he can see, at least somewhat. You can't play Pokemon Go without being able to see at least a little. So anyway, Nelson's gonna play the pity party card, and like when he was being arrested, you know, he has multiple brain injuries, he's got PTSD, he's blind. I mean, none of that excuses you being a jackass, but whatever. Anyway, there's your reasonable suspicion is parked back in a suspicious place late at night on a Friday night. It's just not a normal thing. And then their subsequent reactions to it were again not normal. And these not normal behaviors and reactions and things like that can lead an officer to reasonably suspect crime is afoot. He doesn't have to say specifically what crime he suspects someone of committing, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your particular viewpoint on it. But all he has to do is reasonably suspect crime is afoot, and he has to be able to articulate facts that would lead an officer to believe that crime is afoot. So there you go. And yeah, people smoke dope in vans behind buildings on Friday nights. It happens. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.